Are we leaving this better start on time on the screen?
Yep.
I like that.
Yep, we're just gonna go ahead and do that. And Justin, for everybody watching, Justin the Juice can't make it today, but Justin, if you're watching, get out of the stream right now. Listen, I've seen the signs. You need to watch The Village. I've got a sixth sense about this. Are these M. Night Shyamalan puns getting old yet?
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that. You're a jabroni.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday night. It's What the Show. My name is AJ Lancaster. I'm one of your co-hosts.
What's going on?
We beat the Deacons. We're juiceless tonight. Juice, I hope you use this time to catch up on Ted Lasso, because we discussed backstage that in 2 weeks we're doing a tier list, and I know you're behind. So maybe you don't watch The Village, but please watch Ted Lasso. Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. And obviously, Juice, not feeling so great tonight. So he took the night off, but we have a really special guest tonight. He's been on the show before. Been on the show before, just never on the actual proper What the Show. You've been on our Cats Watch Along, and you are also our reigning Scrubs trivia champion. So Dan,
I am Scrubs. I am Scrubs. Yes, I am also Dan. I am here. It is quite the accomplishment to be on What the Show finally. Not answering trivia or getting drunk watching Cats. Both great things. Don't kid me wrong. Both are great reasons to be here. But it is nice to be on the flagship What the Show.
Well, happy to have you. It's long overdue.
I do want to thank you for staying awake through our Cats Watch Along.
No comment on
Oh, Cats.
So, AJ, why don't you tell everybody we are still in our final week of the month of May? Next week. Next week. We'll still have one more week of May.
May is so long.
It is 31 days of May, and you know what else is going on long? The WGA writers strike, and that's why we are sponsoring this snack list for the month. Yes, when you donate to streamlabs.com/whattheshow/tip, none of those donations go to improving the quality of this program. No. Why would it? It goes to an important cause. This month we are funding the snack list, which is going to getting coffee, getting meals for people out in picket lines, fighting the good fight against the AMPTP. And yeah, we're gonna get some coffee, some foods for some writers. So far we're at $10 in donations for the month. I'm matching that. We're at 20. So yeah, anything that you guys want to throw in, if you want to ask some questions, you want to make sure we don't miss in the chat, it's in that Streamlabs link pinned in the chat there. So, I mean, now that we're done with that,
they're getting Dunkin' coffee because Starbucks is expensive. No, I'm just kidding. Get started. Treat yourselves, writers. Starbucks is where it's at. It's great.
Yeah. So Dan, as you probably are well aware, we are known on What the Show for a cold open and a hard close. So we've been doing a new thing lately where we've been letting our guests kind of discuss what they've been working on early on in the show, so we make sure we don't forget to do it. So tell us what you've been working on lately.
Yeah, mainly I host I'll say what's an attempted bi-weekly, and that's every other week, not twice a week podcast called the Fancast at 4 podcast, the #1 Fantastic Four fan casting podcast on the internet, presumably, with my co-host Jack Mayer. We have an episode actually dropping this Friday. We discussed what if the Coen brothers directed a Fantastic Four film, one I've been really looking forward to doing for some time. So yeah, that's mainly it as far as creative outlets go. Otherwise, yeah, just kind of popping in here and there, doing, being guests from time to time, just, doing my thing.
Nice. So on Fancasted 4, what's your favorite director you've had so far that you've featured?
So weirdly enough, I think my favorite episode I'll answer it that way first, because it's not by any means my favorite director. Was our Tim Burton episode with Paulina, or Jeff, the better half of Jeff's marital relationship.
It's easy to be the better half in that relationship.
I could marry Jeff and be the better half.
Yeah.
But that was just a fun discussion. Though I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan in the world, but I thought that was from our movie discussion, from the cast, the pitches, top to bottom, one of my favorite episodes. Really, as far as just straight up favorite directors, it probably is the Coen brothers. So I really am looking forward to what people think of this Friday's episode.
Nice, dude! I can't wait for it to drop.
I'm intrigued by the Coen brothers.
Yeah, the Coen brothers doing anything in that field, that like superhero at all, is like, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and we get wild. Like I am very proud of mine and Jack's pitches because we don't right now. We've been just doing Jack and myself, no other guests. Honestly, because editing a 45-minute episode compared to an hour and a half of raw audio is a lot easier. But we will be getting guests back on soon. But yeah, it just, for my mental sanity, editing as the sole editor of this stuff, editing 45 minutes of raw audio, way nicer.
Yeah, I bet.
I feel that.
When that time comes for like getting guests back, I know that I've pitched directors to you before. Can we forget any of those? Because I just thought of Paul W.S. Anderson, and I think that
I need to be
all of you are certainly in line to be on the show. I would love to have all of you on the show at some point. And the caveat is I either need to have seen at least some movies or be able to watch enough in the time before we have our episode so I can at least speak semi-intelligently about their filmography. But that is my minor caveat when it comes to that.
Now, who directed the Cheaper by the Dozen remake? Because no, I'm just kidding.
I'm guessing based on the way that Twitter's reacted to recent movies, either Sam Levinson or Rob Marshall.
I mean, it could have been Zach Braff himself too.
Can we?
It could have been. Who honestly did direct it? I'm gonna have to look this up. It's gonna bother me.
There we go.
Gail Lerner.
It up for me.
Jay Larder?
Gail Lerner.
Gail. Okay.
Now, what else has Gail done?
Probably.
Hopefully nothing else.
Hopefully great things.
Some TV. She's directed a lot of television.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of makes sense for it being, essentially, a television movie.
This might actually be her only major feature film.
Oh, and now it's going to go bye-bye off the internet.
Yeah, so the list came out. Obviously, everybody knows at this point, Disney Plus is purging a lot of content this upcoming weekend. Very disappointed that we're losing the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. And Howard too, the documentary Howard.
I'm
of
all
so upset
the weekends when the Little Mermaid is a new, how disrespectful. Anyway,
yeah,
that really takes me off.
The world according to Jeff Goldblum is going.
Yeah.
Just like a bunch of cool stuff.
And I pitched it. Willow, which like barely had a chance to be a thing. Yeah. No more Nick. Nick is so many. Oh, man, Game Changers was great.
I was listening to Dan Merle read the full list while I was driving, and I was getting like super sad about it. And then I heard Cheaper by the Dozen, and I cheered in my car.
It's like,
can't hurt us anymore.
We all should just be doing shots of sauce right now.
It could be hot, sweet, or savory, depending on how you take it.
Well, we were listening to the Scrubs rewatch podcast. Yeah. It was an older episode. Yeah. And Zach Braff was making fun of the movie Ice Castles. And I was like, listen here, sir. You have no room to talk. I have seen the Cheaper by the Dozen remake.
I mean, also talking about things not going through, Donald Faison was supposed to be in that live-action Powerpuff Girls show on the CW, and that's not. I mean, I thought that wasn't happening already, but it was apparently officially announced yesterday that it isn't happening.
Yeah, I saw that. This writer's strike is going to really mess a lot of stuff up.
Well, and that's the thing with the strike. I think is like a lot of stuff that's in production or pre-production. It's like it's the studio's excuse right now to be like, well, since we're on strike, I guess we got to cancel it. And it's like they want this to go on for another month.
But
they
then
want to go on for 2 months. I think they want to go on for another month.
But at the same time, Deadpool 3 and Beetlejuice 2 go into production right as the strike's begun.
Is that a little, are they like quote unquote crossing the picket line by doing that? Or they just like don't have writers present?
They don't
It
have writers
depends. So Ryan Reynolds is a WGA accredited writer.
Yeah.
And that means if he wants to improvise on the set of Deadpool, he cannot.
That is true. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And he can still be there because he's also a producer of the film.
Right.
So he is not there technically in the sense of writer right now. Thus, he is not.
He cannot change the script in any capacity.
Beetlejuice has me really scared because that's the kind of movie in particular, like more so than Deadpool, it's definitely going to feel it, but Beetlejuice really has me scared because I have a feeling that movie is going to be a lot of give and take off with the actors, and now they're going to be limited off of that.
Well, my thing with Deadpool is the last time we had a writer's strike, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds were also playing Logan Wolverine in a Deadpool movie that was shooting during the strike.
And that movie was perfect.
Not great, to be honest, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bold move. I mean, I know you don't want to like delay production forever, but if you can't if there are no possible ways to rewrite or improvise or anything like that, then my guess is they're hoping that the strike is done in time where they can do some reshoots.
That's true too. That's a good point.
Probably.
And how much can you reshoot? It's so confusing.
Right. It's messy, definitely messy, but that might be their hope.
Yeah.
So this will probably apply to everybody but Mike here. So can you imagine him from Powerpuff Girls in live action? Yes, I can. Sam Smith.
Can you?
Wait. Montero.
Exactly.
You gotta get Montero for that.
I don't have any idea what's going on here.
Now I'm just imagining Sam Smith as him from the Powerpuff Girls. Like it wouldn't. I don't see it happening, but the show's not happening. But like, if it was going through, that would be a choice.
Yeah, it would be a great choice.
I mean, that's a fair point, though. To be honest, William, that's a fair point.
I'm pretty sure if you watch Tenet in reverse, it's actually just X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Just somehow it morphs into it.
I think
like
that's
a Pink Floyd album, just like a Pink Floyd album.
Yep. But Tenet in reverse is just Tenet.
Yeah.
That's why they did the thing with the name. Now I get the movie.
The thing with the name. This is getting too close to talking about He Who Must Not Be Named. So I'm going to take a drink just because we're talking about his movie.
Backwards, it's okay. Threaten me with a good time. It's backwards. It's not inverted because it doesn't work upside down if it's inverted.
Who has to root for him again? You? Oh, that's right. You got him.
Yeah, for those who don't know, for our What the Show Fantasy Football League, rather than just outright picking numbers, we assigned a movie to everybody, and it's going to go based on the box office. And I drew Oppenheimer. So I have to root for Oppenheimer. I don't think I'm going to be picking very high.
Everyone go see Barbie. Thanks for the support in advance.
I do think people that go to the movies could certainly do double features of both.
Oh,
I plan on doing a double feature. I know, but I do think people that aren't so stream heavy that do like going to the theaters could very well do a double feature of both movies, even if it's not in the same day, maybe in the same weekend.
Right,
go to see both movies.
We're doing a double feature this weekend.
Yeah, what do you think?
Odd one.
Little Mermaid and the Machine.
I'm excited for one of those two movies.
And I'm also excited for one of those two movies.
You will like the talking craft.
I am staying home.
I respect that.
I said no movies for me this weekend. I'm actually going to Indy 500.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That's really cool.
Have you seen 2001's Driven?
I appreciate the support.
In that?
Sylvester Stallone and Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
I have not.
So Sylvester Stallone is this like grizzled IndyCar driver. I went on a half-hour rant about this movie,
and it's on Jeff Alterman's watch list.
It's on his watch list. Do you want to know what's not on his watch list, but also hasn't been logged? Jaws, any of the Toy Story movies, any of the Indiana Jones movies,
Back to the Futures,
and also no Back to the Futures.
And all Lord of the Rings.
Look at your life. Look at your choices, Jeff. Sure, he says he's seen them.
He's seen
but just never logged them. But I don't know. I don't know.
So, fun fact: my grandpa actually used to race Indy cars.
Yeah.
So we've been to the race almost every year. COVID not included, a couple of years here and there, but yeah. So this is just kind of a family tradition that going to the race every year.
That's awesome. And it's like that's the one race of the year that the IndyCar racing gets the attention over NASCAR. So
right. I mean, to be fair, NASCAR's not getting so much attention lately either. Like Formula One. I mean, I'm not a Formula One guy, but that's certainly
Formula One is hot right now for real.
I mean, especially after that Netflix series.
Yep. Yeah, that really it blew up. They should really be cutting a check to Netflix because that worked out well for them.
It's funny, you look back to Talladega Nights, and the joke in there is that the Formula One driver had to came to NASCAR to prove himself, and it's like now it's almost like it would be the other way around.
Yeah, that's true.
Like just to get notoriety because there wasn't the same like money or acclaim, at least maybe acclaim because just sponsorship and whatnot. Though I don't know how accurate that is. Like I think Formula One even then probably still had more money with it, just with like the teams and the car types that you had there. But
cars are more expensive, right? Like
also just the world stage. You're on a world stage as opposed to just the United States.
That's true. That is true. Oh.
I
don't know. I tried watching some of that Netflix show because everyone was talking about it. I couldn't really get into it too much. But it was interesting though. I liked I didn't know all the inner workings of like the rivalries and all that kind of stuff. So there is some interesting stuff, but I don't know. I couldn't keep my attention. But
speaking of current shows, we have Dan on tonight, who we all know is obviously, as our Scrubs champion, is a big Bill Lawrence fan, and we are one episode away from the finale of Ted Lasso.
I'm emotionally compromised.
So I've been keeping track of like 2023 shows that I've watched, like every television show, game show, reality show, scripted, whatever that's had a new season so far this year. Mm-hmm. And after last night's episode, it went from like number 4 to number 1. Like I'm just so emotionally gut punched every week by it in like different ranges of emotion that like there's no way I couldn't give it the credit it's due, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Has everyone, this is going to be a weird question, but has everyone seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Mm-hmm.
I have not, but I've been spoiled.
So
it's not
what it's
movie.
About, like how it ends. Okay, so anyone in the comments, anyone who's watching live, if you don't want to hear about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I'm going to very, very quickly spoil a few things. Here's the thing that's been upsetting me lately about television and movies and whatever pop culture that I like. I am a sucker for found family. Absolute sucker. It is one of my favorite tropes in all of any kind of storytelling. And the thing that absolutely devastated me the most about Guardians of the Galaxy is that this entire thing is about found family. And at the end, it's going to break up the found family. And I'm 99.9999% certain that is how Ted Lasso is going to end next week. And I'm devastated. I understand it. I understand that he needs to go be with his son. But I just am a sucker for the found family that he has created in England, that he has created at AFC Richmond. And I'm like, why can't Henry just come and hang out in England? Why do you have to go back to Kansas?
I'm going to actually disagree with you a little bit, not on the Ted Lasso stuff, which I know this is kind of where the conversation's going, but with Guardians, again, I'm going to be talking Guardian spoilers. All of them just kind of find a different family. With Nebula and Drax find the children that they rescued and are on Nowhere helping that community. Rocket's leading a different Guardians family. New Gamora found the Ravagers family that is hers. And then Star-Lord's going home to re-find his family that he left behind. So they're breaking up, but I still think it's just now they have 5 different found families as opposed to the one that they'd made together. But to your point about Ted Lasso, yes, I see very much where you're coming from.
And it's sad. I 100% understand it. And I was like, I understand that. I think from the get-go of the show's creation, this was their goal. And I think they've done a very good job of setting that up, particularly this season. But I suppose me, I'm like, because I was like, there's no, to me, like Ted and Beard are so intertwined. And I'm like, so what does Coach Beard do? Is he going back to Kansas? Because like, I don't see that. I see him staying there. But then like, I can't imagine, like, who is Ted? Yes, he's going back for his son, but like, who else is he surrounding himself with? His ex-wife who moved on to Dr. Jacob. Like
Nate. I always said the actor's name.
He's going to find a new coaching job and find kids that will take to his coaching. You know, I think Ted will be okay. But
yeah, I mean, obviously it's a very uplifting show. Like they're not going to be like, and Ted went back to Kansas and was miserable. Like obviously it's going to have a hopeful ending.
She died on his way back to the home planet.
But like, I'm even going to miss, the guy who calls him Wanker every week. Like he's found this community and like May at the pub and like just all of these people that they've, surrounded. Because I was talking to my mom about this earlier and I was like, maybe this is unlikely, but maybe he'll go and like end up being coach of like the U.S. men's national team or something. Like they have him like do something like that.
Sporting KC.
And I was like, which would be great. Like I'd love that. I think that'd be really cool. But I was like, but none of his players, like none of the current team is American. So like no one would be able to go play with him on that level, So I'm like, oh, I just want him to like get to hang out with some of the people.
Don't you put that evil on Ted Lasso?
One thing I'm going to be spoiling this last night's episode of Ted Lasso, people. One thing I really loved about that last scene where he finds Rebecca in his office and Rebecca's like, I don't have a truth bomb for you. If you look at the last 2 seasons, when they're framed kind of side by side, it's always Rebecca. The first 2 seasons, it was always Rebecca coming in from the left side, revealing something, and Ted was in his office on the right side.
Yeah.
Well, this season it was flipped, having Ted be the one dropping the truth bomb in the same position that Rebecca was in the previous 2 seasons, which I thought was a really wonderful touch.
Also, I've always been a sucker and have held out hope that Rebecca and Ted would end up together, which I don't think that they will.
There were signs. There's
like, definitely some vibes. Even in this episode with him talking about Sleepless in Seattle, which was brought up by her last season, which a couple people pointed out, which I think is interesting. Also, I just love how much the writers clearly stand Nora Ephron same. But I don't think it's going to happen, which is fine.
Unless the last episode's 2 hours.
The one thing I was thinking of, the one thing that always was a slight hang up for me, because like half the reason I don't like her with Sam is because she's his boss. And that would be the same thing with Ted. So I was like, well, the one good thing about him quitting is he would no longer be employed by her. And then that would be like my one hang up about not wanting them to be together. But then again, he'd be in America and she'd be in England. So like it wouldn't work. But also shows always wanted kids. And like, that's a kid. I'm just saying. Anyways.
The look that they gave each other during You Got Mail though.
Yeah. I just like, I know like, I'm also okay with them just being platonic soulmates, like just being platonic good. Like that's nice to see platonic relationships. They're very important. And a man and a woman can obviously be just friends. So I'm totally okay with that. But yeah, I mean,
I also think in the episode prior where she rebuffed Rupert's advances, also kind of was a show of growth for her that she might just not need someone right now too.
Right.
It's not, she is sufficient to fill her cup herself.
What do we think? Do we think that I think I would prefer her just being like ending the series? Yeah, like maybe by herself. Like I would like her with Ted, but if not with Ted, by herself. But they have been kind of dropping these breadcrumbs all season about her and Sam still. What are our thoughts? Do we think that they're gonna have them end up together? Because like I don't love that.
They have to do something with that because they wouldn't have been putting these little subtle knots to it the whole time.
Season, if they weren't gonna tie up that storyline somehow.
The only thing that makes me pause is that last bit where Bex and Rupert's former assistant went to her doorstep. So I don't know how that story is going to play out. And that might kind of take up what Rebecca's doing in the finale.
Yeah.
I think that she's pregnant with the child of a strange Dutchman.
That could be too.
And she's going to raise it by herself.
That
I
could be
also kind of think that could be a thing, because when the Amsterdam episode like was wrapping up and he was like, he was weird in that last scene, and I was like, did they do something? And he didn't tell her. But also, like, why wouldn't you tell someone that, dude? Because then, because she could just wind up pregnant and like, yeah. Anyways, she doesn't even know your name, man.
Miracle pregnancy.
It's kind of crazy. But yeah, with Beck showing up and the assistant showing up at the end, that was interesting. So they have to address that obviously next episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with that. Well, I guess we'll find out. But
they haven't announced the runtime on this yet, have they? I'm assuming at least 90 minutes. It's got to be.
I hope so. I'll take 3 whole hours. Give me Titanic length.
And by the way,
it's not enough.
processing childhood dad trauma. Just I don't have.
Who else thought that his dad was dead for a second?
Oh, Jamie's, yeah.
Yeah, like, and when they go to the stands and they're like, "Oh, he went," and I was like, "Is he dead?" And then he's not dead, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like for a hot second, they made me think that.
I mean, if he forgave his dead dad, then I'd just be weeping. They couldn't do that.
Then that would have really hit you in the feels, AJ. But
Shamelabs.com/what-the-show/tip. Give me advice for forgiving your dead dad.
Oh, wow.
What?
What? Huh? Where? But yeah, the money goes to a good cause, and you can also help AJ out emotionally.
So I'll say this,
just keep watching Ted Lasso.
I did really find the dynamic between Ted and his mother really interesting.
Yes. Speaking
because you very much see where Ted comes from, both his traumas and his personality, because he is very much his mother, but also very much having those panic attacks in part because of his mother. And again, he's not blaming his mother, but like her reaction to her husband's passing, I mean, is very human too. And unfortunately that bleeds into their kids. And
the two of them are so alike that's you can see, like, the second she shows up, he's like slightly irritated by her, and everyone else is charmed by her. And it's like, because they're just alike. But like that's exactly where he gets his hangups from. And it's very hard because everything that he must not like about himself, like he sees in his mom as well, and so like that's what makes that relationship. I loved the whole conversation they had at the end, the whole like thank you, fuck you conversation.
That was wonderful.
Was so good. And then her card was just like thank you and thank you, which was very sweet. Oh, Mama. I loved her. She was great.
That was a really unique moment. Not to get like super heavy here, but tomorrow is actually the 2-year anniversary of my dad passing. So like
rough time for that episode.
Yeah. But fortunately, like my family, my mom, my brothers have been very open in talking about it. There was no pretending that it didn't happen. And we're also both in our 30s too. It's not like we were teenagers trying to cope with it. We're all adults here. And so that dynamic between like me and my mother is very different than that, but still just the trauma of losing a parent unexpectedly. You still see yourself in that, even if it's not an exact comparison. So between that and some other stuff that happened to different characters in this season, it's like here, Dan, here's a mirror. Just like look at yourself really hard and don't react. Like try not to react here.
Yeah, I also think it was so important. This show, we've talked so much about Ted and like where he's come from and his dad, and I think it was just so important to finally meet his mom. Like that's obviously you come from two people, those two people shaped him, and it was just very I think you couldn't have ended the show without having met her in some capacity. So I'm glad that they decided to bring her in when they did. And then again, it just paralleled so nicely with Jamie's storyline, obviously this episode, which also just right in the field.
Mom City, I think was the episode title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good stuff. And everything about Nate's redemption arc, the last few episodes, that's been slowly but surely building, leading up to, of course, the big like Coach Beard reveal.
And
Was
that,
Tell them about the blind bag
chef's kiss. The blind bag?
that you got from Ted Lasso.
I don't know what you're
The
talking
luggage
about
tag?
right now.
The bag you bought.
Oh, it's not a luggage tag. It's a.
Clip.
Now I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, the bag clip. I was like, luggage tag. Sorry, when you said blind bag, I thought of. I like to call when I go to conventions. They'll have like those mystery bags, and I call it nerd gambling because it's like I don't know. I just know it's like whatever this thing, and I was like, I haven't bought a Ted Lasso one at a convention, so I thought you were talking about that for some odd reason. But anyways, the like mystery like. They sell them at like Target and I like Hot Topic and stuff. And they're just like little bag clips, but they're like little mystery bags. And I'm a sucker for anything that's like a mystery bag. Cause again, it's nerd gambling for me. So I went to Target. We were like in the entertainment section where, they have all the nerdy stuff as well. And I'm like looking at Funko Pops and stuff. And I'm like, oh, they have Ted Lasso, like bag clips, like how cool. And so I'm looking at the characters. And again, it's a mystery. So Mike is always like the practical one. And he's like, well, if you get it, is there anyone you like wouldn't want? And I was like, and obviously this was going into season 3. And I was like, well, Nate, I mean, I love Nate, but like, obviously I'm mad at him right now. And so I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. Like you pick it out for me. Like you have better luck. And he's like, whatever I pick, it's going to be Nate. Like, it's going to be Nate. I'm like, no, it's fine. So he picks it out. I open it up and sure as hell, of course it's Nate. It's the first one I got. He bought another one for me for my birthday and it was Ted this time.
So this time though, I felt like, cause it's a bag. I was like, felt around until I felt one that
he has a visor on. Yeah. So the Coach Beard one has a hat and like, Ted has a visor. So
Ted
he knew it would be
one or the other,
one of them, which I would be happy with. And it was Ted. So I was happy with it. But I'm a sucker for that. Anytime I like see those little bag clip mystery packs of like something I like, I'm like, ooh, nerd gambling. Let's see what I can get. But I got Nate. But now I feel happy to have Nate as my little bag clip buddy because he's come around. And I've really enjoyed Jade so much more than I thought that I would.
Yeah, she's a great
when
character.
we first were introduced to her.
Yeah, so I'm with you there, and especially at the start of the season 2, I still wasn't feeling that. And I would say my biggest nitpick was like how it felt like they were trying to redeem Nate too quickly.
Yeah.
But this episode made me eat crow some. Just like when Ted was talking to Beard about like judging someone at our weakest moment, that really hit home. And like showing the video of him hiding under the desks, and so I'm like, okay, yeah, you sold me on it. Like even if it was too quickly, just from a storytelling, like tropes and whatnot, like I'm on board. That story Beard told Nate at the end was incredible, incredible scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on board with the Nate redemption.
So I want to say, I was gonna say the past 2 seasons. Roy Kent by far has been my MVP and nobody else. Like he's been on another planet, but season 3, he's number 2 for me because Beard has just been on fire this entire season.
Been a Coach Beard stan since day 1. I want that to be duly noted.
And I've always liked Beard. Like of the characters, I've enjoyed him, but this season he's become the star to me.
I also liked when Will impersonated him. Also solid.
Yes, that was so good. That was such a funny scene.
Yeah,
I love
was
that.
fantastic.
But yeah, Coach Beard's speech at the end, telling the history of him and Ted, it's just like, oh God, I need to go through and rewatch this show from the beginning right now.
Yeah.
Like it gave me that foil of now that I know this history that Ted saved him. I need to like re-examine and see every frame of their friendship. It's just and then like seeing that. Obviously, I cry at everything. I was bawling. And then the Les Mis jokes in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I know. So good. I stole a loaf of meth. That part, I laughed. Like, it's a very serious scene. That, like, it's a loaf of meth. Was like the perfect comedy sprinkled in. That was so funny.
I'm just imagining now the confrontation. Like, all I did was steal some meth.
And honestly, Coach Beard could pull that off. He could pull up that like little
exactly how it went down.
100%. 100% how it went down. And you can't tell me otherwise.
Did either of you see when he was on the Celebrity Jeopardy tournament? Like,
yes.
Oh my God, Bettenhausen is such a
he
legend.
was so good. It was like
he seems as smart as like Brendan Hunt.
Yeah, Brendan Hunt.
Seems as smart as like Beard seems in the show.
And the thing was, like, when he lost, it was one question that he just didn't know Final Jeopardy. He was better than everybody else on that episode, and Patton Oswalt was one who beat him, which was still fine because that episode was so entertaining. It was two of them and Michael.
Oh,
Cera,
was it Michael
right?
Cera? Michael Cera, yeah.
Michael Cera, yeah.
And that was such a fun trio to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, all very funny guys too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very smart, very funny.
Together in a Wes Anderson movie.
Speaking
I'd
of,
watch
with
that.
the side note, I am extremely excited for Asteroid City. I cannot
Yes.
wait for Asteroid City.
By
Just
the way,
named-
tore the spy set. Oh
no.
no, it happened earlier this week. Don't worry about it. But yes, Asteroid City looks so fucking bomb. Mike
we
will
can't
not
have-
like that movie.
We can't have Dan on here and not talk a little bit. Like, we've had you on answering trivia, but we have to talk a little bit about Scrubs.
Oh please, yeah, always.
How could we have you on this show and not go into Scrubs at least a little
Seems wrong.
bit? Yeah.
You know,
So,
can I?
all
You know
right,
what?
now
You
we're
know,
gonna
can I
talk about
actually
older
interject
Bill
before we get into this other Bill Lawrence show? I want to talk about his other Apple one. Just
Drinking.
if you've never watched Shrinking, go watch Shrinking. It is incredible television.
I didn't
wonderful.
like the first episode.
You can't judge a book by its first episode,
No,
though. We watched the first episode, and I want to
grows
continue
on
it.
me.
He has not wanted to
We'll
watch
give it
it.
another shot.
And we
once
have one
that's done.
TV, so
After this week, we won't.
after this week, we
Memorial Day
won't.
sale.
Power through. And if I usually give a show like 3 episodes, and if I don't like it after 3, I'm done. Try and power through, because this might legitimately be my favorite thing Harrison Ford has ever done. As a Star Wars fan, as an Indiana Jones fan, might be my favorite thing Harrison Ford's ever done.
Yes, Harrison Ford fucking rules this.
My
When he's
parents love
hilarious,
it.
it's
You
great.
love all Bill Lawrence's stuff. Like, I feel like this show
I even
is
like Cougar Town. So.
this show is meant for you, and nobody likes Cougar Town.
Sorry to derail Scrubs talk. I'm always here to
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
I'm always down to talk.
All
So,
right,
yeah,
so
I
after
would,
10 is done,
can you,
we'll give it
yeah,
another
could you
shot.
please at least like another episode for me?
We'll give it another
Give
shot.
it, yeah. I think, yeah, the general rule of thumb is like 3 to 4 episodes, and then after that, if you really don't like it, I'll finish it on my own.
After the main character, after Marshall from Jason
Segel's character.
Yeah, Jason Segel's character.
So
After
Lawrence only works with Jasons now.
after
Yeah.
his gay best friend becomes a character in the show, just give it a full episode after that. That's my
Yeah.
thing. Just that character is amazing.
Like, we
Yeah.
watched the entirety of that 70s show reboot. You can, if you can watch that, I think you can give Shrinking another
I
chance.
loved
okay?
that 90s show.
It wasn't bad,
That
but
90s
it
show was
took a while
easy,
to get.
But it was an easy,
going.
quick watch.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, we watched the whole thing in 4 hours or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
it was actually really easy to get
So-
through, but that's besides the point.
So
I have a
getting back-
niece who is Leia, so that also
I
it
also
made it
have
a little weird.
named
but-
Leia, and I'm kind of responsible for it, so I
Mhm.
take great pride in that.
So one of the things I wanted to say, I've been listening, not as much, but before we left Orlando, we had a very long commute, both of us, because we were relocating, and we wound up just staying with family for a little bit. We both have very long commutes, so I actually started listening to Fake Doctors, Real Friends Fake Doctors, like almost every day, because my commute was taking an hour each way, so I could listen to 2 episodes a day. And now my commute's much shorter, so I really can't do them all in one go the way that I was. But listening to Zach and Donald talk about the show, especially at the beginning, like that's where the meat of the podcast really is. I think that's it loses.
I've fallen off because it's less and less talking about. It had been less and less talking about the show.
Yep.
So
exactly.
I'm with you.
And but what I was going to say was, like, you listen to them talk about it, and if you go back and rewatch the beginning, Scrubs had almost everyone figured out close to the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Which is rare. Ted Lasso, to its credit, had most of their characters, but a lot of them did take a little bit of a development. But Scrubs,
I mean, I think they were figured out. It's just they didn't have enough screen time to get to everyone.
Okay, I'll give you that. But by the end of the first episode of Scrubs, you had the 6 main characters and the janitor.
Yeah.
Kind of like you knew what their tone was, and they took off running on that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the one exception was Elliot. I felt like Elliot was a little more competent of an intern at the start, and they made her feel a little more a little more spacey and self-conscious about her abilities as it kind of went on until she became an attending. But I felt like she was a little different at the start. But otherwise, yeah, I feel like unlike other shows where they become like a facsimile of their best and worst traits, Scrubs, I felt like the characters were pretty consistent from start to finish.
Yeah, season 5 is where it had its almost like shark jump moment. It somehow recovered from it, but right. the flag is like the most unforgivable.
and they called to it like that defies physics. Like how
they owned it.
Isn't possible. Like,
well, and I'll even say with Elliot's development, like it kind of like rewatching it as an adult, like makes me identify as like the gifted millennial who like amounted to mediocrity in life. So like that dip was like her spaciness like kind of felt like identifiable and relatable in a way. I don't know.
I was gonna say that's just being a woman surrounded by men. She came in with confidence. They beat her down, and then inevitably she was like, "No, F you. I am good at my job."
That both of you are like, I'm on page with both of you in this. She came in super confident, and then JD did grow fast, and you know she was right off the bat. She was 100% in the lead, and then JD kind of got ahead of her, and then she lost her confidence, but then she refound it in a big way as the show went on. And, you know, it's funny that JD wound up becoming, you know, as he went on to other, you know, the other hospital, and he became, you know, the lead attending. But Elliot was the better doctor when it came to the actual medical sense of things. I think Elliot was the better doctor for most of the series. Mm-hmm. Nice, Jesse. Thanks.
Gameplay trailer, June 8th.
June 8th. So we got what, 3 weeks?
Noted. Sweet. Interesting.
So I mean, I'm gonna ask cliche question, but any couple or favorite episodes that like just are your kind of go-tos if you just like I want to watch Scrubs, what's kind of a go-to episode or two that you go to?
It's hard not to say anything with Brendan Fraser. I mean, those two are probably 2 of the top 5 episodes of the entire series.
Yeah, I believe it's pronounced Fraser.
Fraser, yeah. Yes.
We all got corrected on that this year.
I have a couple of ones that are a little bit more on the silly side that I really liked. My Jiggly Ball, even though it is season 5, the Jump the Shark season, that's one of my favorite episodes. The janitor is my favorite character. So seeing the janitor just outright demolish JD, the biggest win janitor ever had over him, it's you know one of my favorites. And I really like that when they go to Hawaii for Janitor's Wedding too in season 8. That's way up there. And the finale.
Like when Ted sings the acoustic "Hey Ya," that's a great moment.
Yep.
Yes. I have it's controversial, but I have a favorite moment from Scrubs, the interns I'd like to share. Can I pull it up? I have a clip ready. Okay. I know. Like, have you guys seen the interns?
That's the web series. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. It's right here. Just
Surgeon, Dr. Hahn, I want my old job back.
You keep doing well, and over time, we can build to you having more responsibility.
I am not leaving your office until you reinstate me.
You really think it's a good idea to try and bully me?
I am a surgeon.
Do you realize that you're proving my point? That you're acting immature, showing that you don't know how to communicate and you can't control your emotions.
I am a surgeon.
So I'm going to give you one last chance to maintain dignity and leave my office. Now. Because if I have to call security, you understand that I'm also going to have to fire you.
I am a surgeon. I am a surgeon. I am a surgeon. I am a surgeon. Dr. Hahn, I am a surgeon.
Yeah, so
I'm sure in context of the show, it's a very moving scene, and I feel bad for laughing, but it's out of context.
It's kind of so bad. And yes, I forgot that Bates Motel was a thing. By the way, when I first time I was watching through Bates Motel, this is a great, terrible story. So I'm binge watching Bates Motel. This is my show that I watched after a really bad breakup. It was my fiance, somebody I was with for about 5 or so years. And I didn't have a car at the time. So my mom was taking me out for lunch. So I was watching Bates Motel before my mom took me out for lunch on Valentine's Day.
That's your story.
Do I need to unpack that in therapy? Maybe.
Probably. That is, I mean, the odds, of Bates Motel. I almost said the father-son relationship, the mother-son relationship, and then you probably should unpack that in therapy.
You need to go talk to the janitor in his garage. $85.
Yes.
Speaking of the janitor, it's not my favorite episode, but I think one of the moments that I just YouTube the specific moment. It's in the one where they go to the convention and they find out Kim's pregnant. Yeah. But there's the suite, like the hospital suite, and the Dr. Cox and the janitor are fighting over it, and they find that it's been walled over, and then Dr. Cox brings over Turk and he's like, "Do you hear something?" And it's the janitor dancing around to Girl from Ipanema. The funniest shit. I laugh every effing time. Just the girl from Ipanema goes walking and then dead. Every time rolling on the floor.
By the way, I don't want to. Would it be spoiling? I guess it's not. Mike, I'm letting you know at some point you will see the janitor in Shrinking, and it will make your day.
Nice.
See, this is why you have to watch.
He has a cameo, not as the janitor, mind you, but
janitor adjacent.
Adjacent, yeah.
I'm gonna give anybody who's watching this right now and who is competing in something I'm about to promote in a second. I'm going to give you all a hint at a question. The janitor is the answer to one of our questions. You need to know what movie he was in, and it's not the one that's mentioned on Scrubs. And you need to know his actual name. So if you're watching this and you're competing in the Cutthroat Challenge, which is going to be in a week from Sunday, the What the Show Cutthroat Trivia Challenge.
Way to plug.
If you are watching this right now and you know the janitor's actual name, the actor's actual name, and one of the movies he was in, and I'll give away it was in the 1990s, that's one of the answers. So there you are. So if you were watching tonight, there you go.
I also want to say,
if you're in the chat, you want to sign up.
But please let us know. That when you first pulled up that clip before I knew you were pulling up that, I thought you were going to pull up James Remar saying to put down the apple teeny. I thought that was going to be, I was like, James Remar, he was in the Scrubs intern spinoff.
He was a surgeon.
He's a surgeon.
Now I just have Girl from Ipanema stuck in my head.
I found out that The Good Doctor, that's a show by the people who made Scrubs about this guy who is an autistic surgeon, but they play autism terribly, awfully. We just saw it. Come on, you saw it.
It's not great. It's not. I watched a couple episodes of that show and I was not impressed.
But there are multiple scenes of this show that are just ridiculous, and it's a highly rated show. More people watched it than The Last of Us.
That's insane. Well, also it is on our TV, I guess. So you have.
I don't understand any of that.
Season 3 or episode 3 of The Last of Us, one of the best episodes of television maybe ever.
It's my favorite movie of the year.
Incredible.
It's my favorite movie of the year.
And the penultimate episode of Succession, the biggest horror movie of the year.
So I got through a season and 3 episodes of Succession, and I just can't go back. I don't know why.
It is about horrible people. It is just a show about awful people.
It's like an HBO drama version of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but they're all rich.
That's fair.
Always Sunny would never last if they were all rich because they'd all just blow all the money.
That's why Succession is only going to be 4 seasons.
Well, yeah, we're losing Succession all in the same week. Succession, Barry, and Ted Lasso are all going to be.
That's some big.
And,
Who's even getting nominated for Emmys now?
And The Flash.
And The Flash is ending. If I'm
I,
not out there to watch it.
I didn't watch last season of The Flash. I'd watched pretty regularly up until that point, and I couldn't do it.
I haven't seen
the first 2 seasons were so good, and then
I loved the first season. I love the first season.
First season is one of the best superhero content available. Like, it is so good. Like, speaking of things that made me emotional every week, like I cried through half of that season. It was beautiful. Yeah. And then it kind of petered off. But man, we'll always have that first season. It was beautiful.
I mean, as a journalism student, I had some major beef with Iris becoming a journalist without going to journalism school.
Yeah, that did bother me slightly. Sometimes you get
among other issues with other characters doing things without the requisite training, but like just from a personal standpoint, like just starting a blog and then becoming like this award-winning journalist, just is like that's not how.
But here's my pitch though. So it's Barry, The Flash, Maisel, and Ted Lasso. It needs to end in one epic crossover event.
So kind of like the Filoni Star Wars movie with The Mandalorian
and Ahsoka, and
Boba Fett and Ahsoka shows all
the whole gang.
Could you imagine?
We could just get Filoni to do.
Meeting Barry.
So Bethany actually had not seen until today, yesterday, wasn't aware of the movie Blackberry, which we don't have playing anywhere near us. I really want to see that.
I saw
that this last weekend. It was.
Did you?
Was it really good?
It was one showtime at like 7:30 at a theater that was not close to me. So me and some friends went to see it. I enjoyed it. It is easily the third best movie about capitalism this year, behind Air and Tetris.
Air was we watched both of those. I like Tetris
so
a lot
too. Yeah, man, capitalism's having a time this year.
Good year for capitalism. Let's go.
Good year for capitalism.
I mean, Air is my favorite movie of the year so far. So
it's top 5. I think
Air
it's 3
really
right now
good.
for me.
So
the Dungeons and Dragons movie is my number 1 right now. No qualms about it staying. The D&D movie.
Oh yeah,
God, that was so good. That was I like.
But there's some. I know probably in the next couple of weeks, like there'll be something knocking things off. My bet Across the Spider-Verse is going to be high on this.
The more I see about this movie and hear about other movies not being as good, Mission Impossible is just going up and up and up and up for me. Across the Spider-Verse, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Dead Reckoning, all Asteroid City, all very high on my list.
My hopes are so high for Barbie that I'm afraid it might disappoint me because I'm like really hyped.
Barbie's the one that I'm just like.
I think it'll be good.
I want to go in with like a blank slate on Barbie with no expectations whatsoever, like not high, not low, just like go in with nothing and just let the ride happen.
I'm hoping this rumor is true that everything we've seen in the trailers, like in the first 10-15 minutes of the movie.
I bet a movie like this, that makes sense.
That would please me.
I'm sorry, the beach off joke worked way too hard. I mean, it worked so well.
For me. Yeah, I mean, just because they commit. Those actors are just committing to it.
Yeah.
So the rumors, apparently truth. Margot Robbie was sending Ryan Gosling a pink box a gift in a pink box with pink bow on it every single day of filming. Like
that's so much better than sending him.
She was chaotic good.
Yeah, she was
chaotic good.
Yeah, I'd much rather get fun gifts in a pink box every day than what some other actors send their co-stars.
Jared Leto's used condoms.
He qualifies for the Villains list again next year.
Oh,
yeah, he does.
We can put him back on.
Oh, put him on right now.
Before we forget, put him back on.
Does he go number 1? Like, do we give him the number 1 seed next year?
No, he deserves to be the number 14 seed. If you don't know why, just Google Jared Leto 14.
I don't want to.
I don't know if I want to know. I'm disturbed now.
Oh, right now, Juice Scrolling is on the list
Oh.
because remember with he wanted Rotten Tomatoes on there, and they realized he scrolled past Indiana Jones when he was making.
Oh yes. Yep. That's right. Juice, because first he was going to put Rotten Tomatoes on the list, and then he realized it was his own fault. That's right.
We also have Hello Mario's YouTube, who was the one who ranked the Universal rides.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about that.
Kyle,
I'll save them.
Kyle from Renfield. Minor spoiler from Renfield if anybody hasn't seen it. Fuck you, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle.
And
Yeah,
the
I haven't seen it, so
Netflix
fuck you, Kyle.
Yeah. you actually just got the character down perfectly.
Nice.
And then the Netflix Love Is Blind reunion also was many people told me to put that on there.
So it's on there now. You're welcome.
So what is this? Sorry, what is this ranking or?
Next year we do each year now. We've been doing a heroes bracket and a villains bracket. So the ones we just mentioned have all pre-qualified for the villains bracket.
So it just through the year we mark down people who might be What the Show heroes or villains, and then and then they're added to like the What the Show Hall of Fame. Like once you're What the Show hero, you're always What the Show hero, but like the next year another person gets inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Would Twitter crashing during DeSantis's presidential nomination today count?
I think that's pretty heroic.
I don't know if we can ever put Twitter on the hero list.
Yeah, to Twitter be on the hero list.
The people, the people who crashed. Who crashed Twitter, maybe?
People behind the crash.
People who crashed Twitter. They could go on the list.
No, they're all probably DeSantis fans.
Nick Cage does
it's a real great Jedi area right now.
Nick Cage qualifies against next year.
And we do usually try to keep things away from like actual real life villains.
We don't want to give them the publicity.
So. Yeah, so it's like usually kind of silly things. Well, serious to us, but silly things.
Right.
So last year would have been easy to put Kanye West on the villains list, but like we don't want to actually talk about him. So we're like,
that's fair.
Yeah, that's like that. So that's kind of how we roll. Who
I nominate the Carolina Panthers for trading for the number 1 pick to the Chicago Bears. No, I would nominate the Houston Texans for winning that last game of the season.
Lovie Smith goes on the heroes.
Yeah. Lovie Smith, true Chicago hero.
Lovie Smith for just being
no fucks. He knew he was getting canned. I'm gonna win this game. Last minute, here in Chicago, the number 1 pick, ultimately getting them a draft haul, which I am very thrilled about.
That game felt like the last game in the replacements.
Yeah, it did.
Just they're going out anyways. Everybody's losing their job. We might as well.
I mean, Davis Mills does have Falco energy. Shane Falco.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Who is the most Falco energy in the league? That's a good question.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. No. He has too much confidence. I feel like Shane at a core is not a confident guy until he steps on the field. I feel like Gardner Minshew is confident all the time.
But Gardner Minshew is the most likely to own
I'm playing football.
That's true. That is true. That is fair.
It's absolutely the most likely to own a houseboat of anybody in the NFL.
Oh, that is a fair statement. I watched this girl do this video. A friend of mine sent it to me, and it was MLB players who have the most Star Wars sounding names. Like you could just drop their names into Star Wars and it would sound right. I think I would like to do like an NFL version because every time we say Gardner Minshew, I'm just like, what a fun name. I don't know if it's Star Wars.
Every offensive lineman ever.
Yeah. Like
DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Richie Incognito.
Yeah, there's got to be some names out there. They're like, you could just drop that name into Star Wars.
Elijah Vera Tucker. That's a Star Wars.
And it would
that's a Jedi right there.
Yeah, that is Jedi. But I can't remember. She had some really good players like from the MLB. And when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, yeah, spot on. Like that is such a Star Wars sounding name. And now for the life, I can't think of any that she mentioned, but it was a quality video.
Vita Vea, he could be a Sith.
Vita Vea.
That does sound like a Star
like
Wars
a total
name.
Sith.
Yeah, that's a Sith Lord if I've ever heard one. Yeah, there's gotta be. I don't know. I can't think of like any NFL players' names right now. I'm brain farting.
You know, like when push comes to shove, if we're talking NFL players, you know, I think that the ultimate Sith Lord name is Tom Brady.
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that. You're a jabroni.